did that last time.
It's up to you. You are technically live, so let's wait for it to
connect. Yay, sunshine. Hello, anybody out there? Welcome to Book Bites. This is Maggie. Season 2, episode 14. Are you still there? I cannot believe that we've been doing this for so long, and you know what, I still have more books to talk about. So if you are interested in hearing about graphic novel retellings, that is what our theme is going to be today. And just like always, this is an interactive reader's advisory. So if you hear a book that sounds like something that you would like to read, leave us a comment, give us a call on the phone, and we'd be happy to set those items aside for you, and you'll be able to use your Napanee Public Library card in order to check those out. So super simple. Or if you read one of these books, really liked it, didn't like it, wasn't for you, definitely tell me. This is interactive. Engage with me. Kind of let me know what you think about the books that we're holding up. I have had a lot of fun with this, and I hope that you have too. So obviously, we're going to start with one of the most famous books of all time, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This is a book that has been around forever. And even if you are one of those high school students that had to read this one for their curriculum, everybody loves it or everybody hates it. There's no really medium. But when you're thinking about the themes that are in a wonderful book, those can pull through in a totally different way when you transfer that content and decide what needs to be represented in a retelling. Retellings can come in all shapes and sizes. They can be super slimmed down, only holding one storyline, and obviously not go into nearly as much detail. When you're thinking about a book that this one's it's over 300 pages. It is over 300 pages, and to take something that has that much content into it and turning it into a graphic novel like we have here, the To Kill a Mockingbird, also by Harper Lee, but this one's been adapted by Fred Fordman, and deciding what content goes into the retelling, obviously things get missed. So there are great great adaptations of graphic novels. There are also some that they're just kind of a total miss. So it's something where you have to take it with a grain of salt. Try it, see if you like it. The wonderful thing about the library is if you don't like it, you bring it back. You didn't have to pay for it. There's no receipts involved. Just bring it back, try something new. So these might be something that interests you. So I obviously love Boo Radley, his story. I always call it Boo and Scout's story. So when you're reading To Kill a Mockingbird, those are the characters to me that I can envision when I close my eyes. So when you look at the adaptation of that story, this one, I felt like the representation of this was wonderful. I read this one when we were closed last year during quarantine, and you get the full visualization that you feel when you're reading the book in the panels of the book. So it is a wonderfully well done story. It is not going to update or change anything. So the context of the South that you get from this book that has been up against a lot of battles lately is still going to come through in To Kill a Mockingbird. Michaela's going to hold up closer so you can see the panels and the, what are they called, speech bubbles of the content inside. And you really get a feel for the whole story, like I mentioned earlier. Wonderfully done. In this sense, our original story is going to be housed in the adult section, even though we read it in high school. The same is going to be said for our graphic novel version. So we have these both as physical books. This one is going to be upstairs in fiction. This one is going to be down on our main level in nonfiction, but we would be happy to set these aside for you if they sound like something you would like to read. Let's see, let's go this way. Okay. So since we were talking about books that we read in high school, another one that I know I read in high school and have read many times since, The Great Gatsby, F. Scott Fitzgerald. This is a fantastic story. Everybody's read it, and if you haven't read it, you've watched it. This one became a graphic novel just a few years ago. Actually, it might have been last year. 2020. So this is a newer graphic novel, and the colors are a lot softer in this story. They're not nearly as vibrant, but you definitely get a sense of the party atmosphere that you have to use your imagination when you're reading the physical book. You have that obviously that roaring 20s vibe, but in this, it comes through in the pages. The illustrations are wonderfully done, so you get that feel of Gatsby and his friends and Daisy and everybody inside of the content of this story. Again, this one is going to be housed in our regular nonfiction section. Michaela will hold it up here so you can see the inside panels. And in both cases, I felt like those were wonderfully done adaptations for this genre. Thank you. Okay, this one I have not read yet. This one's on my to-be-read shelf. This is SlaughterhouseFive. Many of you guys are familiar with this title, and when it came out as a graphic novel, I definitely put this on my list to read, but I haven't, like I said, enjoyed it just yet. So the graphic novel adaptation, this one is done by Ryan North and Albert Montes. This one we added to our collection just last year, and the color scheme of this one is very interesting because the darkness pulls through. Oftentimes people who are apprehensive about reading graphic novels, they have that expectation that they're going to have Peanuts and the Family Circle in their minds, and that is not the case. The illustrations done book to book can totally capture the sense of the story in a different way, and this would be a definite one that you could try if you are reading other books by Hoosiers. That has been a famous topic on different reading challenges. So since Kurt Vonnegut has Hoosier ties, this could be one that you would use for a reading challenge. It is housed in our nonfiction section here in the library. Thank you. That's super helpful. You can hold it up. Now we're going to move down to the children's section. So graphic novels, they obviously come for all ages. There are picture books out there that are written specifically for our earliest learners who have like the panels. They tell the story from left to right. They have the speech bubbles and then the very simplified context in their writing. These books here are going to be very similar to that. So the panels are a little bit larger. Oftentimes the font is still the same, so it might be a smaller font, but you get the whole story but told in these graphic novel formats. So this one is a historical book. So Pippi Longstocking has been around for generations, and this retelling was added to our collection just a few years ago. But what I love about it is the characters inside, they look like those old cartoons from the Salt and Pepper Shakers and the old Campbell's Soup commercials. That's what I think of when I look at these illustrations from Pippi Won't Grow Up. And this graphic novel, again, is going to be down in our children's section. But it's super fun. So if you are a new generation that's going to try to engage with some of these historical characters, reading them in a new format might be a great option for you. The same could be said. We're going from one set of red pigtails to another set. Everybody loves Anne of Green Gables, especially with Anne Starts with an E being very, very popular the last couple of years, streaming it on TV. You might have readers at home that really enjoyed watching that and were looking for something to read. This graphic novel adaptation was done by Mariah Marston, and this is going to be housed in our, again, youth services department. We have a whole graphic novel section where you're going to find books, anything from biographies to fiction and nonfiction and more. This is going to be housed down there. And this one does a great representation of many of the different stories that are in the whole series. So I don't know if they'll be writing more to go with this one, but for now we have one book that has multiple storylines from the entire series inside of this one graphic novel. It's a very quick read. It's one that you can do in just an afternoon, and it's written at a 3rd grade reading level. So it is a super quick one, but you get the whole sense of what it's like when they're connecting, brushing hair, and all those things. So this one, again, is going to be in our youth services department, along with these next two that are, again, very popular. The Babysitters Club graphic novels, we have a hard time keeping them on our shelves, and oftentimes we end up getting multiple copies of these. Everybody loves Ann M. Martin. The Babysitters Club is from the 90s, so I grew up with the Babysitters Club, and now my own children are enjoying these stories. So you have your 4 main characters, just like the original book, but now these stories are set in our panels with our speech bubbles. And so the storyline, adding the art concept to it, it feels almost like you're watching TV without that digital content. So that's super fun. Excuse me. I feel like there's at least 12 in this series now. So I'm sure that with their popularity, they're just gonna keep rolling these off the presses. So we'll just keep watching. But Raina Telgemeier is a very popular author. So to have her collaborate with this series has been instrumental in building those nonfiction graphic novel readers. This one here, I actually heard about from a webinar that I did several months ago. So everybody loves Roald Dahl. He's the one that wrote Matilda. He wrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Many of the stories that we loved when we were kids, now we get to share with the next generation. So this one here is one of the adaptations that has come out of that. So Penelope Baliou is a French illustrator. She took The Witches and she gave it her own spin. And the characters just have these facial features that totally separate them and their stories and the faces that they make into something phenomenal. This has very minimal words to it. So if you're looking for something that's more pictures than words, this could be a story that would almost qualify in some panels for sure as being a wordless book. So the story is told several pages at a time, completely in the panels alone. This one, we have a couple different copies of, so if you're somebody who likes to do buddy reads or read side by side with your child, this could be an option. The Witches, this again is downstairs in our children's section. How many of you guys have read graphic novels before or shared them with somebody in your family? Can you leave me a comment? Let me know if you have enjoyed any of these before. I know they're not new to many of you. Where is my last one here? I went the wrong direction. Okay, this is one that's really near and dear to my heart. In previous Book Bites episodes, we have talked about Speak on multiple occasions. This is going to be a teen story by Lori Halse Anderson. It also, back several years ago, was a movie with Kristen Bell in it. And there are trigger warnings to this one. There are rape scenarios that are replayed often in the storyline. But the teacher in this story is an art teacher, and the healing that he is able to bring forth to the student who's really, really suffering in this story, the art is instrumental in her healing process, in helping her, quote unquote, speak. So in this story, she's trying desperately to draw a tree, and that's supposed to promote the healing. You get the concept of that when you're reading this title. This is actually a new cover that just came out a couple of years ago, but the content inside is exactly the same. Because of the heavy art themes in this book, the graphic novel version is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So the whole book, or most of the book, is all in black and white, because those feelings of shame and of remorse for tattling, for all kinds of things, this story, it feels very black and white. Like there is a right and a wrong way to deal with the things that are happening in this story, but the art absolutely shines through and makes this a fantastic adaptation, one that you would definitely want to read. I would not recommend reading the graphic novel of that one before reading the prose version of it. Read the full book first, but do them together. Put them right back to back in tandem, because the storyline is super important, and it can bring forth great talking points if you're speaking to students that are dealing with some tough topics. Hey, Kelsey said she read Ghost because it has cystic fibrosis in it, and that was a retelling graphic novel, but it was really, really good. Our graphic novel content is always increasing. It is something that we add to our collection quite frequently. In that sense, because you are using that visual sense, there are not very many, if any, in our collection that are going to be in audio format. So keep that in mind, that when you're talking about graphic novels and graphic novel retellings like we are speaking of today, most of that content is not going to be available for a visually impaired reader. But you might be able to find some of these books on Libby and Overdrive, so you're welcome to use your Napanee Public Library card to surf that content. Those are even searchable terms, so if you're looking for that graphic novel subset, see if you're looking for something to read. Those could be options. Again, you're going to get more of a feel of trying to read that story through the pictures. So as far as an e-reader goes, you'll have to open and close your panels so that you can see the size of the text inside of each box. Did anybody else have graphic novel books that they really liked that they would like to share with the rest of the viewers?
Do you maybe want to show people where the graphic novels are?
Sure, you're gonna walk that way?
Yeah.
Okay, come follow us. We'll show you where the graphic novels are here in the Napanee Public Library. And we're not gonna trip. This is currently our cube where we are filming. If you have your Napanee Public Library card, you can come in and you can use our equipment. We have a VHS to DVD converter for home movies, sewing machine, serger. We'll come right out here. And if you need help, Miss Lexi can help you. Down our first aisle. And our graphic novel collection is really large. So we're very fortunate to have all kinds of graphic novels, everything from superheroes to, again, these retellings. So we've got multiple sections here, and then all the way to the end of this shelf. And of course, we have to have our Charlie Brown and Peanuts. So if you are an avid fan, if you're going to be visiting the Barns and watching the new Snoopy musical, maybe you want to catch up on some old comic strips, we have everything from Garfield to Superman, the Hulk, and everything in between.
So we've got Marvel, we've got DC in here.
Shall we go downstairs and do graphic novels down there as well?
Yeah.
Want to? Okay, come follow me. Our new books are always added here, and so our newest graphic novels are going to be in the same section, but over in the new area.
Say hi.
Hello. Get on a roller coaster. Our newest graphic novels, again, are going to be subset 4 months on the new bookshelf here before they are added to the regular collection, which is going to be on the back side of the children's department right here. We've got a large collection, and you can actually tell just by looking at it how many books are currently checked out.
So these are all graphic novels.
They are. Yep. So when you open them up, you get that story through the panel and speech bubble format. Everything from picture books to chapter books, mysteries, and even down here there's nonfiction, stories about history, biographies. If you want a book about Ruth Bader Ginsburg in a graphic novel context, that is also available. So that's it for Book Bites this week and even this month, and we'll be back next month in August, and we're going to be doing books that we've read many times over. So gather a list, come back and join us, share the books that you've read many times, and we'll do the same. See you next time.